Picture this. Every single morning, a man goes to work. He's a greengrocer, in a country living under a pretty oppressive regime. And every morning he performs this little ritual.
He takes a sign, one with the big slogan on it, "Workers of the World Unite," and he puts it right there in his shop window, next to the onions and the carrots. You know, he does it to signal he's playing by the rules, to avoid any trouble, to just get by.
But here's the twist. He doesn't believe a word of the slogan. The people walking by who see it, they don't believe it. Even the regime that put it there doesn't really believe it. The entire system is held up, not just by force, but because everyone, everywhere, agrees to participate in this little performance they all know is completely false. They are all living within a lie.
Now, that story about a shopkeeper, which was first told by the Czech dissident Václav Havel, isn't just some old tale. It's actually the perfect metaphor for the entire global system we've all been living in for decades. And, according to some really important analysis, that system is now officially broken. It's time to take down the sign.
You see, for a long time, nations like Canada did pretty well by putting a similar kind of sign in the global window. We were all part of this comfortable story about how the world worked.
We had a fancy name for it, the rules-based international order. It was this powerful idea that the world was governed by shared principles, by predictable institutions, and by common laws. It promised stability, and honestly, for a while, it seemed to work. But just like that shopkeeper's sign, everybody kinda knew this story was only partially true. There was this huge gap between the slogan and the reality. We talked about a rules-based order, but what we really had was Great Power Rivalry. We said it was predictable, but the strongest countries would just exempt themselves whenever it was convenient. And those rules, they were often enforced pretty asymmetrically. It was a useful fiction for sure, but a fiction nonetheless.
So yeah, we all played along. We took part in the rituals, and we mostly just looked the other way. But as Canadian leader Mark Carney put it so clearly, that bargain, that comfortable arrangement, it's over. It just doesn't work anymore.
So what happened? Well, the story we were all telling ourselves didn't just quietly fade away. Oh no, it shattered.
And this is the point you really need to get. We are not in some gradual, gentle transition to something new. We're in the middle of a violent break from the past, a rupture. The old system has completely cracked wide open.
I mean, just think about it. Over the last 2 decades, we've had these rolling crises. First it was finance, then global health, and now it's energy and geopolitics. Each one was a massive shock to the system, and each one revealed that the lie just wasn't holding up anymore.
And this leads us to what might be the most dangerous development of all. The great powers are now actively using our economic interconnectedness as a weapon. The very things that were supposed to bring us closer, trade, finance, supply chains, are being turned into tools of coercion and control. You can't pretend we're all in this together when the system itself is being used to keep you down.
This rupture leaves countries, especially middle powers, with a very stark, very urgent choice.
So let's just pause on this for a second, because this is the question, isn't it? When the system you relied on for security and for prosperity is just gone, what's your next move? Do you hide, or do you find a new way to be strong?
Now, the first instinct is totally understandable. Protect yourself, build higher walls, pull up the drawbridge, retreat into your own little fortress. But a world where every country does that would be a complete disaster. It'll be poorer for everybody, way more fragile, and a lot less sustainable. That is a losing strategy, period.
So if building fortresses is not the answer, what is? Well, there's a third path being proposed, a new strategy for navigating this chaotic new world.
It's called value-based realism. The idea is basically to be principled about your core values, things like sovereignty and human rights, but also to be deeply pragmatic, to deal with the world as it actually is, not as you wish it were. It's about being clear-eyed, not naive.
Okay, so how does this actually turn into a real plan? Well, it's a 3-step strategy. Step 1, build up your own strength at home. Invest in critical sectors and in defense. Step 2, you've got to rapidly diversify your partnerships abroad, so you're not dependent on any single power. And step 3, build flexible coalitions. They call it variable geometry. It just means teaming up with different partners on different issues, based on what you have in common, instead of being locked into old, rigid alliances.
Which brings us all the way back to our friend, the greengrocer.
What does it actually mean for a country to take that sign out of the window and stop living the lie?
Well, it means a few very concrete things. First, you have to call the world what it is, a place of great power rivalry, not a functioning rules-based order. It means applying your principles consistently to your friends and to your rivals. It means actually building new alliances that work, instead of just hoping the old ones will fix themselves. And, crucially, it means making yourself less vulnerable to economic pressure from others.
Because, at the end of the day, nostalgia is not a strategy. The old order is gone, and looking backwards isn't going to help anyone. We shouldn't mourn it. We should be building what comes next. Look, the great powers have their size, they have their military might, but middle powers, and really all of us, we have a different kind of power. We have the power to stop pretending, the power to just name reality, to build our own strength, and to act together. That's where real sovereignty is found now.
So we're left with one final, unavoidable question. As this old world order fractures all around us, as the gap between the slogan and the reality gets wider every single day, are we going to keep performing the ritual, or will we finally have the courage to take the sign down?